Activating short-range attack gear.
Greetings everyone, this is 4th Century coming at you with an overview of the entire SoulCalibur 6 cast as of early 2021. Alright, this is a fairly big one, so I'll just give you a warning right now. If you have any difficulty with any of the terminology or anything or notation in this video, then please check out this video right here to give you a bit of an idea of how fighting game notation operates. Anyways, let's get to it. 2B is the main character of Square Enix's highly popular Nier Automata series, and she is a character for players that like to fight comfortably at pretty much any range, close range, mid range, long range, no problem. This can be quite useful against kind of a zone in space and keep out type character because they still have to watch out for instance, your long range moves. Other things, let's see about 2B. She has a giant laser, she can go fishing, and she has a special analysis points which give you a special kind of a lethal hit if you can get approximately 9 of these. Amy Sorrel is Raphael's adoptive daughter, and naturally she has adopted his fencing style. But her playstyle is a bit different in the sense that she's based around close range combat with good mix-ups such as good lows, fast strikes, safe launchers, and she also has a special meter mode called Rose Perception, such as Red Rose Perception. You can get these off of combos, and White Rose Perception. If you get up any of these to, let's say, about 4, then you can end up being charged up. Right now I'm charged up with Red Rose Perception, so you can also charge up with like White Rose Perception, but just keep in mind though that the Red Rose Perception augments your offense, where the White Roses help out you a bit more on defense. But just without the roses, aiming damage can seem a little puny, but when she's charged up with one of these roses, especially Red Rose Perception, then she can turn into an annoying little beast. SoulCalibur 6 doesn't have much in the way of grappler characters, but Astaroth's probably the closest equivalent that kind of fits that bill. Alright, Astaroth is a character for players that want to play a big green lumbering brute with a giant axe with giant range, perfect for keep out, and strong throws that can lead to combos, and even have an armor version. Azwel is a tricky character for players that want a character with a fairly balanced, versatile moveset. For instance, his gameplay is based around 3 different modes, such as sword mode, spear mode, and axe mode. And all these modes have different moves available to them, such as a giant axe to the opponent's shins that leads to a muscle buster, or a giant spear that goes across the screen and can give you a lethal hit. I'll just let you know that if you transition into a different weapon mode, such as sword mode, the initial move will come out slowly, but then subsequent ones will come out quicker. Cassandra is another character with a bit of a grappler element to her gameplay, but she is essentially a beginner character for players that want a character that's highly dedicated to rushdown. So that means lots of frame advantages and lots of safety. She even has a special meter mode called Divine Force that gives her access to like additional moves, such as a giant explosion under the opponent's feet. Oh, and also with regards to her being a grappler, that means that she also has low throws. Cervantes is a versatile dual sword mid-range fighter for characters that just like a little bit more flair to their playstyle. For instance, this move right here, GDR, can lead to decent combos. He also has a gun for good measure. I mean, so if you basically just like to kind of like light zone in on your opponent, then Cervantes can be the character for you. And he can also fly across the screen. Geralt from CD Projekt Red's Witcher series is an excellent, straightforward character for players that are learning SoulCalibur 6. That's because majority of his moveset is just so straightforward and fundamental that he's just a great character to just kind of like learn how SoulCalibur 6 operates. He even has a bit of a flair of his own, and he has his signs from the Witcher series, including what I call the Geralt stop sign. Take note that those do take up meter. Groh's another fairly straightforward character that's good for people learning SoulCalibur 6 because his standard gameplay is just pretty simple. For instance, he has a single stance with like a few different options out of it. However, his soul charge is pretty nuts. Yes, he has anime teleports. Haohmaru from SNK Samurai Shodown series is a faithful recreation of the character. Alright, Haohmaru is a character for players that want more of a with punishment, ranged-based katana fighting style. So that means kind of hanging around, like mid-ish range, and then with punishing the opponent with one of his like heavy attacks, for instance. Alright, so Haohmaru is actually a fairly straightforward character otherwise, but let's say once his health drops to about 30%, then he goes into max rage mode, and then you can end up spending like a bar of meter to go into his now called Rage Explosion, and he even gains access to his Isuna technique, his lightning blade. So if you want a straightforward samurai with some crazy meter implementation, then Haohmaru is the character for you. Hilde is a very unique character in SoulCalibur 6 because, for instance, for starters, she can fight with 2 different unique weapons, such as a spear at range or a sword in close. But the thing about makes Hilde unique is that she has charge moves. So what that basically means is that you have to manage different charges, and even so, she even here has 2 different regalia modes here, which can end up allowing her to get unique weapons with those modes, even though you end up spending the special meter modes. Hwang's a somewhat straightforward, somewhat unusual character for players that like a little element of risk to their playstyle. For instance, the straightforward part is his sword play, so he's basically a standard mid-range sword fighter with a deceptive amount of range on his attacks, but the element of risk comes from these things right here. These are his talisman. Every time you use this, a little element called his life force ends up going down. So basically what you have to do is you have to manage using these. You can even use these off of moves, for instance. So if you end up abusing this too much, then in the next round, if you're in a negative number, you'll end up having less health and you'll end up looking like this. Inferno is a cheap ass. Don't use him. Ivy's a fairly advanced character for players that just simply want to keep the opponent out and social distance the hell out of them. She also has pretty advanced command throws and ground throws. Kilik is a fairly versatile character for players that want to balance between offense and defense, including having GI parry stances and having a balance between long-range combat and close-range combat. His soul charge is also pretty nuts. Maxi is a character for players that just simply want to be fairly abusive when on the offense with numerous nunchaku strings that essentially keep the opponent on the defensive and force them to have to use a fairly specific response in order to beat them. He also has this. Mitsurugi is a great beginner character for players that just want a character with a solid fundamental design with good pokes, decent whiff punish capability, decent lows. So it's basically just solid movement, so he's just a decent, well-rounded type character to learn SoulCalibur 6 with. Nightmare is a great character for players that just want to reap souls. He also has really good keep-out range combat capability, he has deceptively good movement, right now he's on fire so he gets seasoned terror charge so he gets access to one free soul charge move, and his whiff punishment capability is also really good. Just be careful when fighting close, because he basically reduces the match to a kickbox match, but he does have the soul wave to relieve some offensive pressure. Raphael is a good character for players that want to balance between speed and range. Alright, let's see, he has good poking ability, good speed, stances that can be used for both defensive and offensive capabilities, but just take note though that his moves are basically generally very linear, so you have to be careful about opponents that sidestep a lot. He can also do this. Seong Mi-na is an awesome character for players that want to play a ranged, keep-out footsie game. And when it's time to go on the offensive, you can do good guard gauge damage and have a good hell sweep low. Setsuka is a very advanced character for players that don't mind exchanging a bit of execution, well, in exchange for being able to utilize a very flashy Aido quick draw katana style. Naturally means that this style has a lot of just frame moves, like so, but there are also easier versions of these moves that cost a little bit of meter. Because of that meter cost, it's generally going to be recommended to learn the more advanced just frame versions, but if you need to get a little bit of extra damage, feel free to use the easier versions. Setsuka also has a special meter mode called Reflections that activate based on different hit conditions. Seigfried is a heavy character for players that want to mix up the opponent from around mid-range with various stances. These stances can be used for defensive or offensive mix-up purposes, and you can transition into them, but mainly the number one reason why you want to play Seigfried is because you just want the stance dance. Seigfried also has a special meter mode called Dark Legacy, which once you get 12 charges, it allows him to augment his offense. He can also get it automatically if his health drops to 30% or lower. Like Cassandra, her sister Sophitia is another good character for learning SoulCalibur 6 with because her moveset is just it's similar in the sense that it's just fundamental, safe, poking. But the difference between these two is Sophitia's gameplay is a bit more balanced between offensive mix-up and defensive punishment. Like for instance, her punishment can be way of her quarter circle forward D, which has like various hit throws, but she also has some advanced tech courtesy of her Twin Angel Step, which can lead to moves such as Twin Angel Step B, which also has similar hit throws after it. Taki's a fairly advanced character for players that just simply want to play as a ninja. Alright, her movement and mobility is great, like really good mobility options. She can go into her possession stance right there, she can fly. So I mean, she also has like a really fast AA too, so this is just a very versatile mix-up mobility based character. Take note that you're going to require some execution with that just frame move right there in order to excel with her. Like Taki, Talim's another fairly advanced character for players that like a combination of offense coupled with mobility and evasion. So Talim has like numerous versatile stances, and these stances can also be used to augment her offense. Alright, for instance, if Talim were to go into her Wind Fury stance for a certain amount of time, then she'd get charged up with her what's called Wind Bearer stance, and this gives her some additional augments to certain moves. Take note that both Talim and Taki are a bit short-ranged. Tira is a somewhat advanced character for players that like to play a character with essentially two movesets. Yes, Tira has a split personality and that affects the moves that she has available to her. Take note that these move changes can be somewhat random, and they can even, like for instance, happen in the middle of a combo. However, so that basically means that you're forced to have to learn, essentially, and master two movesets. Take note, if Tira performs approximately 9 mood changes, or 5 mood changes into Gloomy, then she'll go into a mode that's called Gloomy Coda, and she'll gain access to her soul charge moves while in Gloomy. Voldo is the peculiar, quirky, stance-based mix-up character for players that just want them to make their opponents go, what the hell is he doing? Alright, naturally he has various stances such as his Mantis Crawl, the Bridge stance. He also has a back turn stance that gives him access to like quicker moves. He can also, well, he can walk, he can guard in his stance, and he still also has access to his fast down A. So if you like just confusing the hell out of your opponent, then Voldo's the character for you. Xianghua is a cool character for players that would like to play a character that's very nimble, is very fast with a 10 frame AA, and is arguably the safest character in the game, including safe launchers. She also has some stances to help augment her mix-up game. Let's see, she has auto GIs, evasiveness, and cancels. Yoshimitsu is a fairly tricky character for players that want to play a quirky character with pretty good mix-ups and Okazemi mix-ups courtesy of some sneaky lows. Alright, Yoshimitsu's a ninja, so naturally he's quite fast. So he's got like a fast AA, he's got a fast like punch to like the gutter, crotch or whatever the hell that is. He's also got some other quick moves. He also has some kind of interesting stances such as Fleece stance where he can walk on his swords, Dragonfly stance where he can just kind of fly around. He also has an Indian stance right here, he can like teleport and stuff like that. He also has some moves that can both cost a meter and has the ability to get some meter back. Yoshimitsu can also make himself dizzy and seppuku. Zasalamel is a powerful fighter for players that just simply want to dominate their foes. You see, with the scythe that Zasalamel is wielding, he has the ability to kind of hook in opponents and control the pace of the fight. This is further augmented from his ability to kind of put, well, what's called curses on them. If he can put up to about 3 of these on them, and what this does is give him access to his special kind of time magic, which allows him to kind of even control his opponents even more. His critical edge is also both a guard break and a guard impact. That is crazy strong. Thank you for watching my breakdown of the SoulCalibur 6 cast. Alright, I know this is quite a bit, but once you find a character that you like, then check out my character guides here to get a bit more of an in-depth look at how they operate. Remember, if you like this video, smash that like button. If you didn't like this video, just hit the like button anyway, and don't forget to subscribe for more juicy fighting game content. This video is endorsed by Smart Esports and Trollcoin. I also would like to take this moment to thank my premium top tier fighters for their continued support, which I always do appreciate. If you'd like to become a premium top tier fighter yourself, click on the Patreon link down below. Anyways, this is Force Nature signing off. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you next time on Top Tier Tips.